We're again joined by our friend Jonny from Witchhammer Studio. Thanks for being here with us again.
What's up?
Yeah, great to have you again, Jonny.
Nice to be here.
I wouldn't say anything. I think everything on my end's pretty good. I feel it's about the same as it normally is. I guess the biggest thing is I've finally started painting a little again, so that's, in some regards, I feel that's significant.
Nah, it's significant.
And Jonny, I know you've been continuing doing your little sketches for Inktober. Always look forward to seeing whatever you come up with.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's almost over. Thank God.
Yeah.
I got to go to the art store today and buy some pens. So,
What type of pens did you get?
I got some of those gray. I got one of those sets of gray Copic markers.
Okay.
Those have been pretty cool. And I got another brush pen because I was getting tired of finding like a big Sharpie and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
But I got like some of those notebooks that they have like mid-tone paper.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Like a gray. There's like a gray, a cool gray, and then there's like a tan. That's like a warm and a cool, and they were like on sale. So I was like, dude, everything that I needed was on sale. Using my old lady coupon sense. So.
Well, that's good. That's good.
You did an Inktober image for the word Dune, and that's maybe my favorite that I mean, you've done a lot of great ones this month, but I really like that.
Nice, man. There's like a Reaver Titan on it.
The Reaver Titan, and it's kind of shrouded in like
mist.
Either it's mist or it's sand or
desert kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's supposed to look like a desert kind of thing, and then a sunset or something, you know. I think that's the night we did the stream last time. That was a week ago.
Yeah, it was. But I think at the time maybe you didn't have the picture up because I think we talked about Dune and throwing sandworms or something.
Sandworm with a bolter.
Yeah.
What's better than that? Nothing.
Yeah, that immediately makes it 40K.
Yep, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. These are all like, that thing is like probably this big. Like it's tiny. It's like every one of these is like Post-it note size pretty much. I think I got ahead of myself and did like a notebook paper one that was just like the thing that I drew got.
Well, that's the thing I would say about a lot of stuff that's shown on Instagram. The pictures make things look bigger than they are.
It's always hard to get an appreciation of the size of anything with art. And I feel whenever you look at something, you always somehow you sort of you decide for yourself the size you think it is, but most of the time it's not really based on anything. Unless there's like a pen or something there to give you some reference.
Yeah, I've been starting to put frames on them. That's been helping me. Like,
okay,
draw them to a frame. Like, I started that one at like a restaurant table. Like it was the receipt paper or whatever. Like, started like on a pencil, and then we got home and I put ink on it. So.
That's cool.
Well,
do you typically draw the stuff in pencil first and then go and ink it, or what's your process most of the time?
Yeah, I'll try to sketch it out in something light at least, or pencil. Actually, if you use like a super light colored pencil first, I can go in with a pencil and refine it, and then refine it even more with ink. So
see, that's a good idea. Like like I remember a while when I was younger, when I used to draw stuff, I'd like draw it in pencil, and then I'd get like a standard like ballpoint pen and like go over stuff, and like ballpoint pens are pretty shit.
They can be good sometimes.
Well, it depends on like the effect and stuff you're trying to go for, but if you're not careful, you can really trash something. And then eventually I realized that there are tons of different like markers and other pens and stuff, and like you can experiment with all of that. but yeah, so it's neat to kind of think about that.
Yeah, there's so many different crazy things that like I love doing pen and ink stuff, and I haven't done it in a long time. But like it's got me kind of like jonesing for it. So like especially like introducing like a mid-tone of gray into it. I'm like, oh fuck, this is cool. Like because you can set stuff in like a middle point of the drawing, and it's almost like a game changer.
Yeah. Hey Vox, nice to have you in the chat here.
So I recently got a set of these like little, it's probably gonna be hard to see, but they're these little like brush markers of sorts.
Nice.
And they also give you like almost like a water pen as well, similar to this, so like you can sort of blend the colors together.
Nice. Is that kind of like an alcohol marker?
I don't. It's a water-based ink. It says water-based ink.
That's cool.
I've not used it
almost
yet.
bought a blender today.
Oh really?
Yeah, I almost bought one of those today, and I was just like, this is just alcohol. I'm not doing it. Yeah, but there's like these weird Korean pins that they carry at this Hobby Lobby that's close to me, so
it's a little.
I like them. Okay, yeah, I've seen these before. Those are cool.
I've not used any of them yet, but I sort of feel like sometime pretty soon I'm gonna try and draw like a jack-o'-lantern or something with them. Like I have 48 different colors.
Draw it right now, live on the stream.
I'd have to.
Yeah, those things are. Yeah, those are.
No, you don't have to do that.
I'm trying to think of like the other. There's another brand that's like a super cheap version of that they work really well on like tracing paper and vellum and stuff because like it'll dry, but you can kind of smudge them and stuff. I don't know. I've done it on like layouts for paintings before, and they're really really awesome. Like they're just fun.
Okay.
You know? Markers can be so fun anyway.
Yeah. What had inspired you to get those particular ones, Adam? Had you heard good things or something, or like...
My wife got them for me as like a gift, and she saw them online and thought I might be interested in them.
Okay, so you mean because that's cool. I feel like with the hobby and all sorts of things, it's fun to try to explore different things. I mean, in that sense, you kind of...
Oh boy, I'm not used to this.
It seems
this
like
probably isn't a good paper for this either.
Dude, I immediately fuck up brush pen stuff like that.
Because that's like, in some sense, you could do like calligraphy like stuff with them too, and that's not something I have any experience with.
No.
There's a lot of finesse.
Yeah, I think I'll have to learn. But yeah, so I'll have to experiment with them. But I think, and I guess maybe I need to get.
I mean, it's clearly, Adam. It's clearly a pill bug.
It could be a pill bug.
Yeah, I generally use the brush ones for like filling in solid black areas.
That makes sense.
I'll frame something off with ink, and then like if it needs to be black, it's just easier to kind of like use pressure to fill those areas.
That makes a lot of sense.
I can see them being really useful on with the color ones like that. Like if you could just like put it over your blacks or something.
Because I kind of feel I watched a few live stream sort of things, or maybe they weren't even live. They're just videos of like Carl Kapinski doing some of his stuff after he does the general ink line stuff. Will come in like ambidextrously with like two different like color water like things, and like one he's like shading this over here, then he's getting the other one. Yeah, it's like kind of crazy, but it seems like
that guy's a mutant, man. That's insane. I've seen a lot of those paintings, like Inq28. No, I'm trying to think of. There's another artist that has that really loose.
And I think they are friends in some way.
Really?
Because I feel they're often kind of post other people's stuff, or I feel they've met a few times because they have a somewhat similar style.
Yeah, real like gesture-y kind of like I don't know, like they naturally draw that from their imagination, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a kind of shit looking pumpkin, but I'll have to experiment more.
It's clearly a pumpkin. It's
Definitely a pumpkin.
I see it as a pumpkin.
Yeah. Well, something to experiment with. And I mean, I guess from our last chat, Johnny, that sort of inspired me to like look a little more into different mediums and stuff to experiment. And the notion of drawing in like say lighter colors and then going back and refining that as you move forward. Like I feel that's kind of a fun and a good way to do things.
Yeah. I mean, that's this kind of way the way John Blanche paints is like almost the way you paint a mini. You know, like he'll do the sketching with a pencil, and then he'll do the inks real simple and start coloring that with like a broad stroke of like brown and yellow and stuff, and then he'll highlight on it. So it's like you get to play with that so many times. That's like really the structure of any painting technique.
That's true.
At least classic. I mean, they'll underpaint. They'll draw something on a canvas and totally underpaint that with like a burnt umber or like some kind of neutral dark, and then where you can barely see that underdrawing, and then they start highlighting those points out of it, pulling the light out of it. It's a real good way to get that chiaroscuro effect. You get all of that midtone and light by just pulling those out and kind of blending those into the shadow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's a cool way to go about things. I need to do more of that.
I guess that's like, but then there's like, I mean, the techniques are so all over the spectrum. But like, there's I got some painting books that I'll send you some ISBs or something. But they're like just technically they show you the layers on like Rembrandt's techniques and like Caravaggio and like all these crazy things that are just like very different, and the palettes are different. But like it's like, oh, that makes total sense. Like like once you just kind of look at the technical way that they block everything out and then glaze it down, it's almost the same way that a lot of like mini painters work, which is kind of great. I think it's pretty cool.
No, I mean, I think it's good and neat to think about some of that stuff, and like as you learn different techniques and ways of going about things, then you can sort of start figuring out kind of what works for you.
Well, it kind of makes the whole painting miniatures feel more like it is indeed an art, even if people try to pretend that it's not.
Yeah, I don't know that I've had anybody. Maybe they just because they don't know about it, like the whole idea of it not being an art. But I've always thought it was. But of course, I've always been into it. So.
I feel if you just take it by GWs, like almost paint by numbers, like sort of approach, base, shade, base again, highlight, like some of that stuff, I could see how some people like it's just straight up like craft, like copy craft thing.
Right.
But in general,
their approach to it or what they see is like the how-to.
Yeah, maybe. But I think in general, any doing it at all is sort of an artistic approach. And I mean, you may not be creating it with some high-minded ideals or something, but you're still using artistic principles and techniques and learning and exploring it like a professional would attempt to do. So like I don't see a huge amount of reason to try to disparage someone from it, like, oh, that's not art, or you're.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like as another thing of just being situational. Like I don't know. People have always been like, tattoo art's not art. I'm like, really? Like I've never really gotten that. Yeah. Well, it's like I don't know that I've really had anybody say that to me, or like, anybody like, oh, them minis aren't art or whatever. Like I don't know that I've ever had to fight for the genius, but
I mean that's good.
I don't know. But that also, like, if that really mattered to me, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily be painting little toys and
yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Introspective moment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I guess we could, before getting into the podcast itself, just what are people working on currently? Like Johnny, have you found time to work on some models or anything while trying to draw all the sketches and stuff for Inktober?
At this point, yeah. I mean, I've been working on some more of those Samus boards, the the thing with the floating cities. I've got like 3 boards and I'm building different war bands to work within. So more people with jetpacks, basically. Like,
yeah.
We were promised jetpacks.
Yeah, there's jetpacks, man. I got some plans for more jetpack foolishness. So
that's good. Glad to hear it.
Eric was sliding in a sly reference to an indie rock band from I don't know, the UK maybe, called We Were Promised Jetpacks.
Is that what they were? I sort of remember.
Might be Scotland. I don't know.
It's Scotland.
How about that?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still a band.
I don't either.
Not familiar.
Yeah, you're not missing much. I mean, I like them well enough. But
I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
There's another Scottish.
They were no Frightened Rabbit.
Yeah, there's another Scottish indie rock band called Frightened Rabbit that they were truly great. And We Were Promised Jetpacks was fine, but they're not Frightened Rabbit.
No.
You guys heard about this jetpack sightings? Like was it around like LA's airport? Like
I did. Or very, very briefly, but didn't look into it to any major degree.
That sounds like terrifying, man. Like, I mean, of course they couldn't be that close to a jumbo jet, but like seriously, like that's insane.
Yeah, that's.
Wait, so
that's
what? Vaguely, what happened?
Apparently, there were like some jumbo jets that sighted like a person in a jetpack, like at that level of altitude or whatever.
Holy shit!
Like multiple sightings or something. I don't have all the information on it. Just like, we were talking about it at the shop, and I'm just like, Jesus, man, that sounds insane. Like, it's like how big a jumbo jet is versus like a human being. You know, like I don't know.
Holy shit!
Like, just hanging out up here in the clouds, man. No big deal. You know?
Yeah, that's
wow.
That's intense. Yeah, I saw a story or two about it, but admit I didn't dig deeply.
Mm-hmm.
Like how fast they would have to be going to get out of the way.
Yeah, shit.
Or something, you know, like how like a jumbo jet is going really fast.
yeah. God. Oof.
Well, I guess I never stopped to consider too much, like, what's the status of jetpack technology? I mean, presumably people have been working on stuff like that for a long fucking time, but like...
There's a lot of, like, working, like, stuff, but I don't think that it goes that high. Like, the article that I saw it on, they were talking about a few different ones. There was one that's, like, got a modular thing on, like, a backpack, and then there's, like, these little... like jets on their arms, but they use them for like they're testing them for like emergency stuff and like alpine situations. And there's like video of this person like going over these mountains and shit, you know, like
damn. So it's like, when's Elon Musk going to get interested in that and try to get all these investors to pump money into it?
Something into it. Yeah, we need some jetpacks, man. Like,
yeah, always. Yeah, because we were promised jetpacks, right? Where the fuck are they?
Yeah.
All the jetpacks.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of what I've been working on, I only recently started painting a Blood Bowl model, one of the Chaos blockers. And sort of part of the guise of painting him was it seemed sort of fitting to paint a Chaos model in and around the Halloween time. And he's gonna, the color scheme's gonna be loosely based around the Cleveland Browns.
Quality team.
Yeah.
Which, a bad American football team.
Brought to you by Halloween.
Yeah, brought to you by Halloween. Yeah, but I don't know, I've been experimenting with it and trying to use like more inks and shades and stuff, which I tend not to use a whole lot of. And I tried to use the airbrush a little more too.
Do those models have the eyes actually sculpted on, like, underneath the visors and stuff?
They fucking do.
Like, that's crazy.
And they're like so fucking small. Like, oh my god. Like, so I haven't quite decided what I'm gonna do with it. Like, I mean, they're really in there, and like this picture I'm showing here, like there's a really heavy shadow from like the airbrushing and stuff. So like I don't.
It seems like you probably should.
I'm of two minds of it. One, to like keep them shrouded in darkness, or two, like paint them white and then get
glowing.
some bright color to make it look like they're kind of glowing or something.
If you can get to them, you could do the glow really easy. If you can just get them in a one cut, like a one white pass, you could stain, like just like do all of it with white glazes and then stain that with whatever your color.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I can do that. But fuck, they are so tiny.
Oh, dude, I'd give up. I just wouldn't do it. Nah, they don't have eyes, man. I can't see it in this picture. So, like, I'm like,
I see no evidence. I've zoomed into this picture tremendously, and I don't see them.
Well, I mean, they're small as fuck, and then even in the little.
I do that on every model, man. I'm just like, nah.
Well, like the little grill across his mouth, like there's actually detailing of some of like his chin and shit and his mouth. It's like you fucking can't see that. Like I can't get in there. Like it's pretty impressive. It's a. And I think in one of the streams a while ago, I sort of talked about these models, and I think I showed some of the sprues in one of the streams, but the model's shoulder muscles and stuff are actually sculpted underneath these shoulder pads, and they're hollow. So like you can actually look in there and see his see his shoulder muscles and go up to his neck. So like they did all of that and made sure it looked right. And I mean, so it's pretty cool. I was impressed.
That's pretty awesome. Like, I mean, at that point, you've got like an armature of a muscle-bound Titan guy. You know, like that's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, if you wanted to, you could actually just, when you were assembling the model, like you could actually get rid of, shave off the shoulder pads, and then just do some re-sculpting on some of the areas, and you could give them smaller shoulder pads or just completely change them or remove them.
Yeah, just do something else. Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, he's cool. They're cool.
Not that we talk much about rules on anything, but I've been playing the game Blitzball with some graduate school sort of friends. It's pretty fun, but like these blocker dudes, like they can't be knocked over.
They're just too dead hard.
Like and it didn't occur to me when I just read the rules. It didn't really occur to me how good that is, but like that's super good.
So I mean, you actually just have to like injure them and kill them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that if they, rather than getting knocked down, they can just make an armor save, and if they don't, they're just not knocked down. That's really good. So I think it seems like the team would be fun to play just because of how resilient and bash your face in.
And then the Beastmen models, like they have some rule where they can like headbutt people, which sounds sort of fun.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's just it's neat that it seems a lot of the teams are very distinctive, play differently, and have a style that is fitting of kind of the models and the theme of them. So like I appreciate that quality of things, but yeah. So but it's nice to see you painting.
Yeah, that's
nice
fun.
To see you painting.
Eric, you're actually getting pretty close to finishing the first Blood Bowl model yourself, right?
Yeah,
awesome.
I've been painting a hobbit or a halfling. I guess it's not really a hobbit.
Yeah, his feet aren't hairy. It's not a hobbit, right? That's a hobbit.
I mean, I could have tried to paint something like that on it, but I didn't because of general laziness.
You could still do it, man.
Yeah, I know, but
he looks
well.
good
We'll see. Then, so yeah, he's largely finished, and I feel this was the first model that I actually tried to actually glaze, and I think he looks better because of it. But now I just have to figure out what to do about the bases or the models or the model. And I tried to experiment with some stuff, but I think it's come down to it. I think probably the easiest thing to do would be just to do something with static grass.
Mm-hmm.
And I now need to get some static grass.
It's been a while since
Yeah,
I've messed with that.
It's just like they're usually based with just like a pretty even keel cut grass.
Yeah. Like I tried to use some really, really fine flocking material that I have, and it's okay, but I don't think it looks as good as I would want it to.
Didn't speak to you.
No.
Yeah, it seems like something super fine over like a green base coat or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just...
Yeah, so I don't know. I experimented with, but then I moved on to starting to try to paint the second one too. A little bit tonight, trying to paint some of the purple, and it's going okay. But I don't know. I haven't really painted that many models, so it's very much an experimental thing, trying to.
That's how you learn.
You have a pot on his head?
He does have a pot on his head.
Well, the one you painted is, I think he's the only one that actually has like more of an American football helmet.
Yeah, all the other ones have pots or some shit.
They'll be easy to paint.
Yeah, so I mean that in itself, it makes it easier because I don't have to like try to carefully glaze in colors or whatever. I just
have fun.
So, I mean,
metallics.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice, I guess.
No, that's good.
All kinds of weird metallic stuff you could do with like pots and pans, especially like used ones and stuff. Sounds like a way to.
Yeah, I'll probably try to put in some inks and stuff and make them look slightly burnished or whatever. But I think it's a bit more forgiving and then like not requiring really tight, careful glazing of colors, I don't think. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. But the goal is to actually finish painting all 6 of them. I'm going to keep talking about it to encourage me to actually do it.
We'll try and hold you to it. All right, yeah, so that's what I think we've been working on. Greg, you have any updates on what you're focusing on?
Not really. I mean, I've been trying to play guitar a little bit. I still can't really, but I've been trying. I'm in a fantasy football league for the first time ever, and I have won the first 6 weeks despite having no actual football knowledge.
All right. Sounds like you're pretty good at it then.
Or very little football knowledge.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. You want to think about starting the podcast?
Yeah, we might as well just
like 10:30 and
get on into this.
It's getting late. It's getting the late. I guess so. If Jonny does cut off, like depending on how much of the talking that he misses, we may have to like catch him up on what one of us said.
Yeah.
And because.
Yeah. No, we can.
But yeah, we'll work. We'll see what happens, but.
I'm not sure what I can do
to just logged off.
Yeah, you just lost him. Yes. Yeah, but we'll work with it, and I guess ultimately I'm going to edit this stuff into an episode of the podcast where any odd pauses or something will be cut out, so
yeah,
I don't think it's anything to worry about.
Cool. So just continue.
Yeah, we'll just
and ultimately, like I said, I'm gonna edit it into an episode of the podcast, so if we do need to repeat a question, we can do it. It doesn't really matter how it's synced up in a way that it will be easy for me to clip stuff out. So But I guess if people are ready, I'm gonna play our intro music and then I'll roll into the intro.
Yep, I'm ready.
Yeah. Ready.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dragged into Turbolasers, a Between the Bolter and Me podcast. This is episode 78, and I'm your host, Eric Wire, and I'm here tonight with my two brothers, Adam Wire.
Hey, everybody.
Greg Wire.
Hey, everyone.
And I'm excited to say that we have a guest with us tonight, our friend Jonny, or perhaps better known as Witchhammer Studio on Instagram. Nice to have you here, Jonny.
Hey, everybody. Nice to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on here. Like, I feel we've been following your work for quite a while now. I feel I guess we actually featured your work slightly on 2019 as one of our favorite like hobbyists of that particular year. But I feel if people aren't aware of your work or haven't been following you, you should certainly do that just at Witchhammer Studio on Instagram. But I think in general, you make a lot of sort of Inq28 style models that I think do a really, really good job of capturing some of the dark and grim underpinnings of Warhammer 40,000 better than I think most people in the setting or even Games Workshop themselves, in a way that you explore and create things that aren't super obviously like a Space Marine or a Sister of Battle, but still bring it all together and make it instantly recognizable as something in the setting or the universe, but something that's still unfamiliar and people would want to get to know. So yeah, but we thought we could just ask you a few questions throughout this and yeah, go from there.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Well,
yeah, but I mean, I guess maybe just to start things off, we can just ask, like, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how it pertains to how you just got involved in this hobby, in the miniature wargaming hobby?
totally. Yeah. I guess I think the first exposure I got to it was like a lot of people just I saw like a white dwarf in a like a Walden Books or something in a mall or something like that. It was just like, oh my god, it just blew my mind. And just all I really got was the books and stuff like that. I was never really around a lot of gaming or anything. And then years later, I think they opened a Games Workshop close to my place, and I happened upon it and ended up getting a hold of a box set and started cutting them up from there. Never really got to play, but and then of course like high school and women and all that stuff happened, and like anybody else, you kind of forget about that as far as your total motivations. But I came back into it recently, and maybe like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I feel that that's a lot of people have a somewhat similar experience. But yeah, man, taking a Walden Books, that certainly takes me back. Like,
oh man, yeah, 90s, I think.
Yeah.
90, 95 or something. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how far back that was, but I just remember getting like little drip feeds of like heavy metal stuff and just being like, what is this?
Yeah. And I have fond memories of like in the late 90s going to those bookstores and trying to see like, oh, are there any new Black Library books and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think Walden Books is a thing anymore, though.
I don't think so.
No. Bookstores, I mean, I guess we still have Barnes and Noble, but other than that, it's not a huge thing anymore, just due to internet and digital stuff.
Yeah, I went into like a Books a Million or something and saw a White Dwarf recently. So like
Oh, really?
I'm like, awesome, man. Like somebody's gonna like some kid's gonna happen across that maybe.
Yeah, it's still a thing that can happen for the younger generation.
That's great. I was recently in a Barnes and Noble, and like I went to look like just out of curiosity if they had like a white dwarf there, and I did not find one.
I very rarely see them at all. Like I don't know, when I wasn't into it or when I got away from the hobby, like I didn't see. If I wasn't looking for it, I wouldn't have seen it. You know, like that was like kind of like I don't know, that was kind of the thing. It was just like once I looked back for it, it was like still going
Yeah.
way stronger, man.
Yeah, it's true. Well, like what brought you back into it? Was it just kind of general looking at blogs or Instagram or something, or did it just like think back like, you know what? That was a fun sort of creative outlet and you wanted to get back into it. Was there a
Man.
defining moment?
I did like the pretty common "come get your shit out of my garage" thing, you know. And they there was just like all these converted Marines, you know, and like some half built and some totally painted, and it was just like, oh man, that was so much fun, man. I just remember like time disappearing, and you know, and like you know, just and creating something. Um, but just looked, like I said, just looked back into like, oh, I wonder what's Game of Workshop right now, you know, and like what's going on with miniature painting, and it was just like my head exploded, man. Like it was like, and that was just going into the avenues that I knew about, you know, like
Yeah.
shortly into that was when I found stuff like Ex Profundus and Iron Sleeve and stuff that was just like, whoa, this is different. This is a little more like God, I don't know what the word, sophisticated, maybe. I don't know. Like maybe not, because like there's, I don't know, it's just so multifaceted, and it's like
Yeah, something that's not as focused on buying more models and playing a game. Not that they don't encourage that too, but
I definitely got hit with that too. Like it's definitely like,
yeah,
oh, like I've got so many Space
hear
Marines
that.
just stacked up, but like it's like I got more into doing stuff that wasn't necessarily Space Marines, I guess, because it was like maybe harder to do, but maybe not. I don't know. Like I see some of the stuff people do with Space Marines now, it makes me like want to cut my thumbs off. So good, you know.
But so Eric mentioned this at the beginning, but like you make some pretty dark and brooding looking miniatures, to the point that I feel like you make the universe look grim and look and feel grim dark, where there's a lot of people talking about how Warhammer 40,000 is so grim dark and such, but I don't think there's a lot of people making miniatures that feel that way. Like, what has led you to create things like that?
Oh man, I don't know. Well, it's like I guess it's probably more the like influences outside of 40K, but they were similar. You know, like I mean, like everything about 40K is like complete body horror and like over the top violent, like in the ways that like Japanese cinema and like Guro type manga and like just different types of like art, I guess, simplistic way are. So it's just like it was so almost like second nature to just be like, oh man, we're gonna make this as violent and disgusting as we possibly can, and that'll like kind of send you there too. But that was probably a big part of getting me back into it, because it was just like, oh man, we could just like you could make a scene of this unworldly thing, you know, like, and at this point, like I wasn't playing with people or anything. It was just like, to be honest with you, I got back into painting models because it was just like I took like a dry spell where I wasn't like drinking or anything. Just like I just cleaned out for an entire year, 2 years almost. It was just like I got into it at the same time. It was just like, this is motivating. I just dumped everything into it, and it was just like, this is just so easy. It's almost like making paintings, you know. Like a lot of my like 2D artwork is like very sci-fi, kind of like hard driven, like gory, violent, kind of interdimensional stuff, you know. And it's just like, that's 40K, man. I mean,
that is
like,
40K.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's interesting, like just how the 40K universe, how it so many different genres and styles and stuff fit into the universe. Like, you know, it's very much like 2000 AD, like all that stuff seems very reminiscent of 40K with Necromunda and such, but then different body horror and all these different films and such that you kind of somewhat associate with 40K. But you really just look at the models and even some of the illustrations, you don't always really get a strong sense of that. And some of it could just be like them realizing we need to really drill down on our own IP just for intellectual property stuff.
Yeah.
But even if that is the case and probably makes sense from like a business perspective, it's still, there's a lot of opportunity to incorporate other genres, mediums and such into it. And I think it's neat to see you doing it. And like we kind of said, your models are stand alone as being something very unique, but still very 40K. So
Well,
I
cool,
think,
man.
and that's really cool.
Cool, mission accomplished. Like,
But
yeah, but I think that's like the gold of the IP, though. It's like that it's such an open-ended story.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's what it was sold to me as when I was like in 90 whatever. You know, like it was just like you can make this your own. You know, like here's this, and here's like this little broad or this tiny set of like.
Did we lose somebody here?
So I've been. Johnny's still on, or
Is Adam still here?
I'm still here.
yeah, we did a good job. We did a good job of not talking about that freeze. We waited for a long time.
Was waxing about IP, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure because sometimes my computer locks up. All right, well.
I think mine kind of locked up too. Sorry. But yeah, just the idea of it basically being like a thing that you could come in and make your own was always what it was sold as. So it was almost like even more appropriate now, you know. So it was very obvious after getting back into it that people have been doing the shit out of that, you know. So like it was just like, me too, I want to do it too, you know. Like
I think that's true too, and particularly with just the internet, Instagram, things like that. It's easier than ever to find other like-minded people and people who do want to like. Their goal isn't to build 2,000 point armies, and they do want to like, I want to build weird shit and explore this universe. And it's nice to be able to see that. And I think people have been doing it for a long time because it's, you know, obviously been encouraged for a while. But it's nice to see more of it and it be more accessible and to be able to build off of other people's excitement and the stuff they're working on. So
I do feel like I don't see or there are a lot of people that feel, or it seems like there are a lot of people that confine their inspiration to Warhammer 40,000. And I always like to see people that are taking inspiration from things outside of it. And like there are lots of things that fit very much in with the theme and tone of 40K, as you were saying, Johnny, that aren't 40K, but go right along with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and everything in 40K is so borrowed from everything else too.
Yeah.
You know, like why not, right?
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, I guess talking about inspirations, are there any particular films or artists or comics or anything, manga that music as well, that really you've used to like inspire a particular project, or you tend to come up and watch the stuff you're doing?
I love listening to your little Instagram stories because they often have some cool like songs and stuff that you can listen to. So like I enjoy that.
Oh yeah, they messed up when they let you search for music to put behind the stories, man. Like there's so much shit on there.
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool. That's great. And then you can just almost like soundtrack your stuff to it. So
yeah,
that's pretty fun. I mean, there's even like sound effect stuff on So you can
Wow.
you can really.
Yeah, I haven't really messed around with that, and guess I need to start doing it.
It's weird, man. There's so much stuff on there. It's like a sticker. You have to put a sticker on it. I don't know. It's above my head half the time. So, but like inspirations as far as like movies and everything. That's like everything, man. You know, like music and movies and artwork, other artwork. Like, but I don't know. It's hard to pick a favorite on anything, I think.
Okay.
I've got a few. I mean, of course, like H.R. Geiger, Simon Beasley, like those are all like, I mean, like every gun Simon Beasley painted looked like a boulder, you know? It's like, I don't know that he did any Warhammer. He might have, but like, it was just like, it always reminds me of that for some reason. But then like, that's, you know, inspiration for lots of other stuff too, you know, like, but yeah, like I wrote some stuff down too. I'm thinking like, I mean, really like Japanese tragedy stuff. I love that type of 2D artwork. So like that kind of stuff is super dark in another way. It's almost like romance and like just complete deprivation. And that's what 40K seems to be in the stories, you know? So
that's true.
That kind of stuff too. It's just like, what kind of depravity, like everyday depravity can you put in a little freaking 32mm circle, you know? Like, like, that's a pretty fun challenge, I guess. Like, all right.
I got this.
Saltiness on this. Yeah. But yeah, movies, like, I don't know, like there's lots of like weird comedic Japanese violent stuff that reminds me of it. I don't know if you've Nissimura is a director that did like Tokyo Gore Police and like Meatball Machine and
yeah,
like,
I know of all those films. I haven't seen them though.
Yeah, I haven't yet either. But yeah, I mean, I think I saw you had posted something on Instagram mentioning some of those films, so I feel there's something that I need to look into a little bit more.
There's just like almost like Evil Dead type comedic gore violence, but like it's like always like future dystopia. There's like, I mean, Hell Driver had like a chainsword like theme almost, but it's like over the top stuff, man. Like, but like it totally like reminds me of.
So like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I got into a kick of like watching like films like Ichi the Killer. And like back when that's probably when I first watched Tetsuo the Iron Man. So like kind of weird Japanese things.
And that's very much the same. The director's style is very much that first.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I am aware of those things because of when I was delving into some like that stuff, but haven't seen them yet.
Yeah. 90s anime is like probably why I still have a hand in that pulse in a way. Like stuff like Ninja Scroll and like Angel Cop and like just all the old just over the top like hand drawn stuff. Like I love that stuff. Like Genocyber is a real good one. Like that's one like it doesn't get anywhere near enough recognition, but it's like people turn into robots. Oh, I'm a human and I can turn into a giant fucking robot, or I'll just mow down a room full of children. Like just over the top. Like wow, somebody drew all that. Like you know.
Aside from knowing that Genocyber was like kind of like in that like cyberpunk wave of like AD police and that stuff.
Bubblegum Crisis and shit.
All that 90s stuff, man. I don't know, the worst the dub track, the worst it could be, man. I just like Angel Cop is something that I put that on like in the background all the time. Like I've got it on VHS and I just have it like in the studio.
Great.
Like it's such a gorgeous movie, man. Like it's just the characters in it. Like it reminds me of like, okay, every little circular thing you put on this board is a little character vignette. Like, and you have to give it that much character, like that much more. You know, like that's like the fun part about it.
No, that's cool.
It's just there's so much stuff that doesn't really, I guess, like, but does find its way into the minis on everybody's stuff. They don't talk.
Yeah, I feel the more you're aware of other influences and try to incorporate them, I think maybe the better, or it's easier to like realize that you could try to explore new ideas from something you just read or watched. Like, obviously, we're always taking inspirations from all over the place, but I think if you're more cognizant of it, I think maybe that could aid the creative process. And certainly Games Workshop has done a ton of it for like all of their creations, but taking it their own way. So I think it's just sort of written into sort of the DNA of Warhammer 40,000 and Games Workshop. So why not continue?
Yeah, I love it. That's like, I mean, they could change whatever narrative and advance whatever narrative they want to at this point for me, because it's just like you can really make whatever you want. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's like, I guess that's where people get all upset online and stuff. But like, I don't know. Always just like, screw it, man. Like, I can make something cool out of that model. Like.
Yeah, I sort of feel like that was one of the things that I always liked about it. It's like the universe was vast enough that you could sort of imagine just about anything, and if you were interested in trying to make such a thing, you could do it, and it would have a home.
Yeah, agreed. So I don't think we necessarily mentioned this explicitly here, but if anyone's following you on Instagram, they might know to a point. But you're a tattoo artist by trade, correct? Like, how has that affected kind of your model making and such? And does some of your work there influence the model work and vice versa? Things like that. Yeah, I don't know. I had just asked briefly if how your work as a tattoo artist has affected, your work in the hobby related aspects, and if there's any back and forth with that, or
I was thinking about like really like the main thing. It's really like helps with like planning, which it seems so like small, but like I don't know, like it really does help like with like color schemes, especially because like usually you have to make so many different colors work on a mini and balance, but still like have like a spot of an accent, like that. It's definitely helped as far as like simplifying that.
okay.
I've definitely done a lot of work with like over the top color, and I'm like really in the past few years have tried to be like, how do I make the smaller amount of colors work? And this has definitely helped. But like I find it works like many stuff works a little bit more with like 2D art, and tattooing is a little bit more like the drawing is the skeleton. So, but it definitely helps as far as like thinking like how the amount of planning that has to go into this type of thing. It definitely translates as far as like this goes so much easier if I plan all this out. Like definitely like it makes you think about every aspect. But I think that was the kind of the thing that sparked on getting it kind of into painting minis, because it was like a palette cleanser in a way. So
okay.
Different medium, and like I get every bit out of that. So, but it's I don't know. I think it's the fact that they don't translate as much that makes it really useful.
Yeah, because that I think is something that people will kind of talk a lot about. Like, let's say if your career is like in audio or audio engineering and stuff, probably when you get home, the last thing you want to do is like, I'm going to create a YouTube channel where I tell people how to do audio engineering. Like, it's just too much of the same shit.
Yeah.
But if you can find something that's somewhat related, that you can translate some of those skills in interesting ways, it can still help you develop in that, but still, cleanse the palate, like you said, and still be relaxing. And it sounds as though this kind of fits that.
Well, I like the idea in terms of like I could see it, since I feel as if since I paint so few miniatures, like one of the things, like I think it's kind of fun experimenting with like the color schemes and the color palettes, and like I feel I'd like to do more of that. And I think as like a tattoo artist, you were saying like you've done a lot of work with different colors and stuff like that. I think that would be very good experience. And like I know like a lot of your more recent models, you've done a lot of really cool work with like light sources and stuff like that. And I think you certainly experiment around with a lot of different like techniques and mediums and stuff, which like I think is wonderful.
Thanks, man. I honestly I feel like a lot of that light source stuff is kind of gimmicky. Like if you do something super muted, you can like draw attention to an like a OSL type element, which is not a bad thing at all. Like I love doing it. It's just like, oh man, that thing's lit up, like it just looks cool. It's fun, like. But it's like literally that's like I mean, you can do that by hand and in super easy ways and do it multiple ways too. So it's just an easy, fun thing, and you're just painting where the light would hit. So it's almost like a little mini game,
Yeah.
I get carried away because I'll be in a midtone, like I'm putting all the midtones on. I'm like, well, I'll just put this white on here, but then I'll end up starting glazing the reflections on. I'm like, I'm gonna paint over all of that. Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing, man? But like, at least you're making room for it, like
Yeah.
and previous or like the next layers you put.
So I've been trying to do some more work with like airbrushing and stuff to try and get like different hot zenithal highlights and stuff like that. And I find most of the time I do all that and then I just paint over all of it. It's like, I don't like the look of that. I'm gonna do it myself and paint over all of it. But I think if anything, at least it's getting me to start think a little more in that direction. And I mean, there's always something you can kind of try and work towards and like improve.
Towards that end, when you like approach a new project or something, you often, well, I'll wait for this. Because I know like a lot of people when they do new projects, I'll just, yeah, I guess, Johnny, when you approach a new project, you often try to do like a new technique with each project, or are you always attempting to do something new, or is it just sort of free form, or how do you approach that, incorporating different techniques and such?
Well, usually like I'll just like read about some kind of technique or something to try on it, but like I mean, I don't necessarily make the models to try the technique out. Like I mean, like those last little warden guys, the ones that have all that bone armor, like I was just like kind of daydreaming about spraying the whole thing down with like an enamel rust wash and then peeling it off of like a warm yellow, and then painting everything else on it like a ceramic kind of looking bone kind of thing, like, and it was just like, oh, well, maybe I'll use this to get this red tone, like just planning it that way. So it wasn't like necessarily, it was just like, okay, I've got these three to paint and I want these three to be the same. So how do you want, the library to be? So I don't know that it's necessarily like the technique that does it, but like, because at this point it's like there's so many different ways to skin that cat, like,
Yeah.
like now when you hear more, it's like, okay, I could do it that way, or I could do it that way, or I could do it that way. I don't know if it's necessarily. Yeah, it's definitely not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that in mind, like, are there certain like places you look for information about this, that you like constantly watching YouTube videos about painters, or like just Instagram, or is it just?
I think that the best stuff has been honestly like modeling magazines, like
Okay.
stuff like Fine Scale Modeler and any of the military stuff. I would say if you can extrapolate, like as a mini painter, if you can like look at that and see how you could put that on a like a figure mini, like it's like it translates so well. Like I think that helped me a lot. Just like, okay, how do I make this simpler? And I don't know, because I just kept wanting to, highlight everything up to a point and a line, and then like those things were just like more broad and dirty, and oil techniques and stuff like that are like can be translated in both ways. So like that's
Yeah. I think that's neat, because I feel a lot more people are starting to kind of discover this concept that people have been involved with, like model trains, model airplanes, things like that, for like a lot longer than just 40K has been around. And there hasn't been a huge amount of like cross pollination for a long time, but it's starting to be more so. And I think
Yeah.
the more people try to do that, you realize like there is a lot of knowledge on like applying this to small scale figures, and the more you can do that, I think the better.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just like picking it up everywhere, or just being cognizant of the things that you see. That's probably like, I mean, but that's anything, you know, like, but
Mm-hmm.
if you see a mini that you like, check that mini out, you know, like, or like look at,
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I mean, just in like anything, like artwork, movies, like if you can be pretty, if pay attention to it, be interested in the different mediums, and like I know I've started thinking a lot more, like when I look at a miniature or a piece of artwork, it's interesting to try and figure out for yourself, now how did they go about doing that, like what techniques did they use, any of that.
Yeah, I think
it
just
can,
looking critically, like at a model that you are impressed with or inspired with, and just try to like, how do you think they accomplished that? Of this, the paints you have, the techniques you use, do you think you could approximate that? And I think that can be a useful thing. And honestly, with stuff like Instagram, you can probably literally just ask them how they
Mhm.
approach stuff. But the more I think you try to envision how it was done, I think the more you can start thinking about novel ways to approach things. Like you said, Johnny, there's so many different ways to like approach a problem.
Mhm.
So I think that that's cool.
Also, I have a question, Johnny. When you said about making a miniature, how much planning do you do initially? Like, do you have a good sense of what you want and how you might go about it, or is there more fiddling with different pieces? I know you had said that, like, being a tattoo artist, some of like the planning aspects is something that you have taken to this.
I would say it like the as far as like the bit planning and stuff, it would be more like I have to. Usually, I'll make them for groups, and I'll start kind of writing out what I want to include in it and the changes that I make. But I like literally have notebooks of just like ideas of what to do to the mini. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and usually, it's trying to fit with like the aesthetic and also make it like workable within the universe. And that's like I have like a lot of rule books, and I'm just like, okay, what kind of gun would this person actually have? You know, like, or how would this work within the game as far as like how would I be able to honestly now I figure out how I can run it in Necromunda, because
Okay.
that's what every game that I've played with anybody as far as this goes uses um that basic like mechanic system, like the whole like movement, like guns,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just build off of that like it's like a language type thing. But like I definitely am cognizant of that, because it's like that's the legitimacy of what I'm doing in my head, is that like, oh, I'm going to use this for something. Like most of the stuff I'm working on now was for the Carrion, or for the Stellas event, the Relicta Stellas event at
Yeah, no, that's
Adepticon. But
cool.
like now it's just turned into 3 different 2x2 boards that I'm making to where anybody could just come play them.
That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
So like people that I know, I could just take it to the shop and set this board up and be like, okay, you're this group of minis, and this is the story, and here's these other kind of almost like NPC type character minis,
Mhm.
you know, that like I'll play or I'll have somebody else play part of them, you know, like just kind of beer and pretzels type story, kind of role playing game kind of thing, but just kind of basing it off like Inquisitor and then and like Necromunda. But I'm just like all the other stuff that everybody else has showed me as far as like playing the games, like Rob Mead and James Ward,
Mm-hmm.
Isaac, all those guys that I've played with at Adepticon. It's just this is crazier than just painting these things, you know. Like you can give these little things life, you know. Like, but um,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
just like
that's great.
a big part of the idea is like, okay, how can these work and translate with the people I'm showing it to? I guess legitimize it with, you know, within the I guess the parts of the IP or the
Yeah, I
story.
think because that as you're kind of implying, that can be a pretty large motivating factor. And it's certainly like we've all gotten into it to a point for just sort of the artistic endeavor and the creative freedom. But to go a little bit further, having like an event or a game you want to build up for can be a nice deadline or motivating factor to like, hey, like we have this slight amount of restriction or rules as a framework that can help you focus your building and such. I mean, I guess with that in mind, could you talk to us a little bit about what you have been building and were building for that Adepticon event?
The event was generally based off the idea of doing a campaign during the days of Adepticon. And some of the participants, like other than just bringing like a warband or a playable warband within this campaign, you could bring a 2x2 table that would be like a setting between two different people, basically two different warbands. And those would have their own, I guess, narratively driven objectives and different story structure kind of things. But we had kind of played with the idea of doing that, and then of course, it got canceled.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it unfortunately did get canceled. But because I know a bunch of people were kind of, working on their own things sort of for that event. Like Isaac Weirding Way was doing some stuff, and just a lot of the people involved in some of the previous Inq28 Adepticon things were doing stuff like that, like carrying pass and such. But yeah, I mean, I think if people are following you on Instagram, I can see some of the models, like the jetpack models and stuff you've been making. But could you talk a little bit about, sort of the thought process behind those models and what sort of boards you were bringing or have been creating for that?
All the floaty kind of jetpack type things are kind of for some stuff that I wasn't going to be able to have totally done for Stellas, but like it was going to operate within the story of like a world beyond the Cicatrix that was like basically made of like floating island type planets. And a lot of the stuff that's been made for that are like basically like tactical characters that have been like, I guess, sort of related to a world of like pilots and like kind of cliff jumping type I guess dynamic, like where they have to have lived like from cliff to cliff in a way. But the boards are basically like floating like cliffs, and they're built on gantry ways about that. But I've got two boards like that I've been working on. So
they're really cool because they have a similar look to a miniature you had created, I think, for the Carrion Pass event, like the year prior, which is sort of like the Doom Marine look, which is sort of like a Van Sar model with kind of a skull face that you then created this cool like little plane. Are they similar? Like, are they from the same place? Is that?
Yeah, that was the general idea. The idea of the piloted kind of cast character was from Carrion Pass. It was like this character came from this world, and he was the pilot of this ship. But at one point, he lived within this kind of, I guess, skyfaring society of this world, but he had been turned to a more chaotic kind of driven force, and basically him and the ship were tainted, but only it's supposed to be this kind of questionable anti, like not hero, not imperial, not chaos, but like almost like this, like just poisoned human in a way, But then, this is all these other boards have come from the idea of like, oh, there's like a house structure, and they're all flying friggin' space cops, like. Oh.
Yeah, because like there's certainly the same visual lineage between them. So I think at least I certainly noticed like, oh, it's great to see you developing that concept more. One of the things that I noticed I really have been impressed with the bases and such that you've created on some of those models. One in particular, I really like. You've like kind of removed the center of the base such that it's just like the rim of the base, and then built up things around it. Like that, I think is super cool. What was sort of the thought process behind creating that? Oh, the internet. Yeah, John, I was just asking, like, you made like some really neat bases and such, and the one in particular, you kind of removed the center out of it. Like, what kind of inspired you to do that? And
I kind of thought about doing it after I had cut the base. I cut a base out to make like a water effect in it in a previous model. But this was more like, okay, so these characters would be jumping from like broken like cliff face to broken cliff face. I figured it'd be kind of cool to have, you know, that somewhat represented in one of the models or one of the bases itself too, to like almost make it look like they were more clinging to like small edges and kind of trying to maneuver around those. And I was like, well, might as well, you know, like try it out.
Yeah, I think that's cool, and I think it sort of speaks to this idea that the base is kind of a necessary part of these models just for a gaming purpose, but you can also use it to help kind of convey a narrative, and I think it's neat to see you approach that and do that a lot, and I think for most of your models. Is the basing process, is it something that you consider pretty early on in the build process, or is it more like a latter thing that you do?
I think it kind of depends on the model for sure. With these, I kind of had the idea of their body types first, and then I built the base around it because they were going to be kind of ninja and off of something, you know. So it had to be kind of thought about.
Yeah, the motion was a big part of these models. Yeah.
Totally. I don't know. I think whenever I got back into painting models at all, pinning models back into the base off of bases that I made was just such a nightmare that like building them around it, like with the model was like I basing it after I painted it would be a nightmare. I couldn't. My brain would explode. Like, it's never perfect. It's never perfect on anything that I've called finished. Like I'm just like, oh man, there's a gap between that boot, man. Like there goes the, you know, like we're not suspending disbelief here at all.
Yeah,
ruined.
Well, I feel your bases are great, and they are a lot better than the accessory rock that ends up showing up on a lot of Space Marine character models.
Oh, rocks are great, man. There's just got to be. I guess it's like it's such part of the story, you know. Like like I've had, you know, if anything that I've seen, like heard ad nauseum is just like I don't know, almost like the infamous model with like no dirt on its feet from the base, you know, like or, like it's just not integrated into the base, like it doesn't work. But there's so much story you can put there. You can almost do like an understated miniature and have the base do all the story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like your
true.
models, if they have like a foot up on a rock or something, it seems like that's actually a part of the world they're in, rather than it was just let's put a rock there to make his pose visually more interesting or something.
Yeah. I mean, on the Doom Marine you got up right now, that guy's got his foot up on that broken piece of debris or whatever. That model has his foot on some stuff. So like I'm just like, how do I make that foot on something else? Like
it's
like immediately that informed like, oh, he's totally going to be on a shard of like sheet metal on top of a dude he just shot. You know, like that's the story. You know, like I can, you know, it'll raise the character a little bit more, and of course, maybe something gross to paint, you know.
Well, so on that model, and I've seen on some of your other models, on their base, like on the rim, sometimes you have like a band of like a different color. So on this Marine, it's like a red band. Does that have any significance, or is that just kind of like focusing or what? Yeah, what's that about?
Those are for the firing art, or the point of to measure like line of sight or whatever.
That's
like
cool.
I don't. And Necromunda doesn't have like a cone that you have to measure off of it. I don't know. It was something I could add to it to add to the play. All the other Yod models have those on them too. I think that some of those have a red light in them, like that I photographed them with, so they have like multiple, so it doesn't look like it's supposed to be there, but they all have them too.
I like that. I think that's cool. It kind of has a neat. I think it's a neat visual effect. Like I like it a lot, actually.
Yeah, you can see them on those. On the Yeah, it was basically just to show the front. I think because one of them, in the first game that we did, it looks like it's going forward because there's a body kind of hanging out of the back of it. And it was just like it kept getting put down like it was supposed to be going the opposite way, and for some reason, anal retentiveness, I'm like, no, he's going backwards, dude. That doesn't work.
That's not right.
Yeah. So, I don't know. And it's just like another detail to add. Their most of their color scheme was black and red, so it's just like, oh, well, of course, we do like a glowy kind of red line and show where they would be, firing from.
Yeah, I love that.
Basically, where the front of the model is, But basically, it was basically the backwards looking guy. I was just like, okay, we're gonna fix that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, that makes sense. So you obviously do a lot of conversions and such, many of which like it's sometimes even hard to kind of place where the model is coming from. When doing your conversions, is there any sort of tools or something that you really appreciate and like kind of can't live without just to help new converters or hobbyists to start converting themselves? Yeah, so I just asked Johnny, is there any tool or something that you find is particularly helpful when converting or doing like you always use?
Yeah, definitely. Get a Dremel tool. A Dremel tool with a wand. I don't know, like if you know what those are. They're like a long kind of like extension that you put on the end of your Dremel, and it's like basically looks like a pin. Yeah, but it's basically something that you can put the Dremel attachments into that don't put it onto the main housing of the Dremel.
Yeah.
So you can basically hang the Dremel above you or something, or I have it like beside me on a desk, like on a hook, and then the wand comes out of the bottom of that up to where the workbench is that I would do conversions and stuff with. But basically, I use that and these small jeweler's drill bits that I've only been able. You can find them on Amazon, but I get them at Harbor Freight. They sell them in these two little clear plastic like packages. And they're tiny. Even the smallest one's about the size of like maybe it gets into the size of the smallest stuff that you would get in like a pin vise kit.
Okay.
So you can go through with those if you're very careful and you use eye protection and like literally cut through anything or drill into anything or by any kind of modeling material. I would recommend using a mask if you're doing resin. Which I like. I love resin, and everybody hates resin, but I love resin because you can literally turn resin into whatever the hell you want. It's like I feel like it's a converter's must-have. Like you have like.
Well, that's interesting because I have a Dremel, but I haven't thinking like I should probably have one of these, and I haven't really used it yet. But I think that's a good idea because like the actual housing and stuff is kind of large and sort of
funky, man. It's hard
because.
And you can still use it, but those you can get them at any like Home Depot or Lowe's or some kind of like Walmart probably has them. But you can track them down, and you have to get them for the brand. But they make them for like all kinds of different types of Dremel too. I have another Dremel tool that's like an off-brand that it won't fit on, but I use it for like a plastic cutting disc to cut like big terrain pieces with that. Like a Dremel tool is great even without that thing, but like with the wand, it helps so much, man. I love that thing. But it's
and do you use it for like really fine sort of work, or is it more for broad like cutting pieces apart and such?
All of that, everything. Like I can literally use it to trim like mold line with.
Damn, because I know like this comes a lot from my ignorance and not having really used it. But the little I've used Dremel tools in the past, and it might just be because I'm holding the big cumbersome thing, but I find that if you're not careful, like with like a little drill thing, it'll skip around and you'll like, like how
it will. It's like I'm not saying that it's like it takes you might want to practice a little bit.
Yeah,
okay. But there's like especially with resin, I was just cutting up one of those Eisenhorns, which is fine cast. But if you use the long side of one of those small drills, and you're pulled towards yourself, if it's going the right oscillation, it's basically going to buff everything, and you can literally take tiny little slivers of resin
That's
off
cool.
that way. But there's a YouTube artist. I can't remember his name, man. But he's like a microsurgeon or something, and he does nothing but like cuts the emblems off the front of Forge World dreadnoughts with just a large drill.
Yeah.
And he's just like same kind of guy that's like drilling tiny holes in eggs and shit, you know. But this is like he just had like a YouTube video of that, and it was just like, oh my god, what? Like that's kind of crazy, you know, like. And that's what got me to get a Dremel tool like that. But like I've also seen so many other people like on Ammo Bunker and stuff use stuff like that too.
So I mean, I have a Dremel tool, but like I'll be honest, like I've almost never used it. So I guess I should.
It's that big housing, man. It's the housing. Yeah. It's so you can't use it the way that you would want to.
Yeah.
I know this is horrible for a podcast. I'm gonna show you what this one looks like. But.
Okay. Yeah. I'd be interested. I'll have to. Because, I never use it.
So, here is the Dremel housing.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I just went on Amazon, and there's plenty of them.
Okay, so that's like fascinating.
We'll have to
that's a good idea.
Put a link in the description then. For what it's, because...
But you can see that it's like attached. And then there's like this thing, and right here, like the handle is just like a pencil, basically. And then you just basically the front of it, and you put your whatever on the front of it.
That's great.
But these little drill bits, I just bought some more of these today. But they're like they're super small, but they all have the same chuck size.
Yeah.
Or the same bit size on the bottom. And this is a pretty large one, actually. This is like at least a mil. But they all have the same chuck size, and that chuck size just so happens to fit just no problem into the collet for this. So
and so these were specifically made for that.
No, they're like some Chinese kind of off.
I mean, I guess it's like provided it's a I'm sure a lot of the collet size stuff is relatively standard.
You said you got them at Harbor Freight. I mean, Harbor Freight doesn't make anything nice.
No, I run through them. I have like a drawer over here that you can't see that's full. It's full of the sizes that I don't use. But like, and I might use 4 out of. You get 2 of these in a package, and they're 3, 6, 9, 10 in each package. So you get 20 in each thing, but they're fucking $5.
So
it's not
even matter.
That thing, this thing, like game changer for sure. But I mean, you could do it with a regular Dremel tool, but like, look at that.
It's
like
just
that's like it's like, can you do anything with? No, you can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So I'll have to look into that because I literally never. I mean, I feel I could count on one hand the number of times I've actually used the Dremel tool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I keep it right next to my desk that I cut stuff up on, and like that might help. But that Dremel tool, man, like it's so many uses if you really like think about what you can put into it. But that's like, I've gotten boxes of the same size of those drill bits off of eBay, like for nothing. And you can order them by the size, and they just come like they were like 30 of them in just a cube. Like a cube with foam. It was just like, like it's just like you have to, when you order stuff like that, I guess it takes like a month. I don't know. And now it might take a lot longer.
Question about your painting. Like you mentioned that you take some inspiration for techniques through like scale modeling and stuff. Does that also translate to like the paints and stuff do you use a lot of like enamels, oils, and things of that nature?
I definitely like to, and I'm trying to get it to where I can figure out when I want to use that more, but I can't act like I'm like oh yeah, I know how to use them. It's more I'm playing with them, but now I definitely like to do an oil pass after at the very end always, like because it's like if I'm doing a black lining fast or something, and I just want the contrast to come out instead of using like Nuln oil or something, I'll use like a dirtied up black oil wash or oil kind of panel line type thing. And it's like for some reason, I think it's because of the capillary action. It's just like so much easier. Just use that and like a script liner brush, like a cheap script liner brush, and you can just go through and get all the contrast you need almost, or at least like for a dirty, fucked up looking model, you know, like I'm not putting that golden demon quality crap. I'm talking about like, how do I make this thing look nasty? Oh yeah, put some black on it. Like,
I mean, I think that's
I love that, but
I haven't done a huge amount with it, but I have certainly found that it is so much easier to like thin down an oil to make like a wash to get like black line stuff than using like Nuln oil, like you said. Like you can be so much more controlled with it, as well as then just if you don't like it, you can just remove it, which is really nice.
I mean, but I say that, but then I've seen people do all the heavy lifting that I do with like acrylic washes with oils, and then do that last contrast thing with the ink. You know, like they use like black ink on top of that after they've sealed all the oils and stuff, and it's like that looks dope too. You know, like, so it's like, I mean, it's like coffee staining and all that stuff, man. Like I love that. Like I'm like, that makes stuff look messed up, dude. Like, you know, like I'm always like people are like, it's got that. I'm like, you know, I love that. Like you can just paint over that kind of crap. But so like I like all of them, you know, like acrylic washes with matte medium.
No, I think that's kind of a good thing. Like I feel as you're painting, just pay attention to how like the different mediums and stuff, how they react in different ways, and like you can use those different effects. Like like I know I would always get pissed off by like some of the coffee staining type stuff, but like I mean, depending on what you're trying to do, that could be like kind of just what you're looking for. So
yeah, but I mean, I don't know that I've ever tried to paint like heavy metal marine, like just straight like I mean, I think that's why I've started to get more dark and more like I guess scale model style stuff, because like I just didn't want to paint like football teams, you know. Like it's just like it got, after a while, like it was just like, oh man, even the Space Wolves that I painted when I got back into it, like I still look at them and they're beat up, and I'm just like, man, it looks like a football team, dude. That doesn't look good at all. Like and I love them, but I'm just like, damn. You know, like, like I don't know. I just like, that's so much work.
That's true. I mean, I feel like that I've tried to move more and more away from some of that stuff, because I feel like a lot of my stuff was very almost like prim and proper, like do start dark and work up all the highlights to whatever color you're going to, and like I mean, depending on what you're trying to do, it works well and it's fitting, but like it's not the only solution. So
yeah. Exactly. That very much that, I think, like the whole like it's just not. I'm not that good of a painter, I don't think. Like, or I like the layering part of it, and that's just not how you do like base layer shade, like, you know, like that kind of line highlight thing. It's just not how you do it. And that's like, I've got some Marines that I did that with coming back in, and it was just like, this looks like crap, dude. You can't do this very well, you know. Like, I might be a lot better at it now, but like I haven't had any inclination to try, you know.
Yeah, it's a process. It's certainly a process.
There's a big community of maquet artists too that make tons of content, and if you want to paint something super dirty, like check that stuff out. That's huge. I know you guys were talking about Gunpla a lot. We were talking about that book that like Mig made or whatever. That's like nothing but a weathering nose. It's the same stuff, like the same stuff. It's all the same crap that we do to models. It's just the same. It's just on. Like I remember, like when you guys were talking about it on stream, I'm just like, yo, I will send you this book, man. Like, you're literally doing everything that you do on a mini on Gunpla, really, and you just like, and it's like that, like, but all those guys do it with maquet stuff, and like that whole world is just a little bit bigger, you know. It's just bigger scale, you know.
Well,
like, I feel like they can paint like weathered on paint with just the way that the thickness of the paint, and use a brush and just dab it in and pick up the brush in the right points, and it looks like weathered paint. It's like it's a way of doing something really fast, but it looks beautiful. Like that stuff, it helps a lot, because then you just don't worry about being so clean, because like, wow, that looks awesome and super detailed and clean, but like the process is really like more abstract and broad. Like I don't know, I love that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Also, that like machine gun Krieger or something of that nature. Like, I feel like all those kits aren't as easy to come across as like Gundam kits and stuff, but like they're great.
Yeah, and like that stuff is super, super, like, I feel like that's got some 40K in it too. Like, like it's just like, it's just so beat up and dirty. Like, it's like all the same like ingredients basically. Like as far as like the how to build it and the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Nah, yeah, that is very true.
Those guys got a lot of kit bashing kind of technique stuff that's really rad too, or scratch building stuff. Really. That's like a gold mine too.
Yeah, no, but I feel that's just a general thing I think we can come back to a lot. The more you can incorporate and look to other sources for techniques and how to approach stuff, the better, because there's always something new to learn, right?
Yeah, it just makes everything richer.
I guess with that in mind, I think we've been talking for about an hour here, and maybe we could think about wrapping this up. I guess with that in mind, do you have any last things you'd like to say, Jonny? Advice or anything just you'd like to plug? Yeah, I was just saying, Jonny, like, as to wrap this up, do you have any advice or any last words or something even you just like to plug in?
Oh no, I don't. Not that I don't think I have anything to plug other than keep making cool stuff so I can look at it. Like, I guess everybody out there, like I see stuff every day that's just like people just trying stuff, like so. I mean, I guess the only advice I could say is do whatever you want, like don't let anything tell you there's a rule, like unless it looks like shit. If it looks like shit,
Yeah.
wrong, right? It looks like crap, and
but you probably learned something from even that too.
Totally, man, totally.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could say the same to you, Jonny. You need to keep making more stuff too, because we want to look at it.
We sure do.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, well, it was really nice to have you on here today and just to talk kind of about your hobby process and such. And yeah, it's really good to talk with you.
My pleasure, man. Thanks guys so much.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess with that, then, yeah, I guess we can maybe take it out of here. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we hope to talk to you guys again soon.
Cheers.
All right, it's recorded.
Great. So the podcast.
Yeah, so the podcast portion is done, and I will edit that together and release it in that form. But hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Nice to see you on Supervised Darkness.
Hey.
Trap Lord Sosa, nice to have you here. You created Nightbringer today. That's fun. Like, all those Satans are cool. Is anyone excited to get the new Necron Satan thing?
The Void Dragon dude?
Yeah.
He's cool. It's cool.
I can't look at pictures of it anymore. I gotta be careful with that.
I mean, to me, it seems like it's a thing I'm tempted to just go and buy it, but like I need to have a plan for it, lest it'll just sit in this box.
Yeah,
and be unloved. But it's really.
I have an apartment full of those plans. Those gray plastic plans. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to do. Well, actually, for that matter, did you see any of those new Warcry models that were revealed over the weekend?
Yeah, man.
The Direchasm stuff, does any of that stand out to you?
Some of those like high elf ones are like interesting. Like guy that's kind of like sitting on a little piece on the top of it or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I can't remember exactly what. Like some of them have like elements that are rad, and then some of them it's like I don't know, you know.
Yeah, I feel they're like a lot of them have cool elements, but many of them, like their poses are just kind of weird. That I think they don't stand up as well as I would have hoped them to be. Like
One
the
with the little bird. I like the bird. And its staff, like the rings on its staff are actually thin and small, which I
Oh yeah, that one. That's the one that I.
that's probably the best.
Yeah, that one's cool. I think it's like the helmet that might have thrown me off.
The head looks a little bit.
yeah.
To me, I feel like a lot of these models, they're very reminiscent of the rest of the new range that they made, but each one of them I feel is almost like a lesser version of like
The same thing.
yeah,
Like the one with the bow and arrow is like just standing stock straight up. It looks so awkward, and because of it, it almost makes it accentuates how short their legs look.
it really does,
and
doesn't it?
And then even
Look at the hand.
the
looks
female
bad.
swords master, the pose is okay, but the sword is so large and fat looking that it kind of makes her look imbalanced.
My favorite part about them are the little trees.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. I was going to say that the tree on the guy that's doing the whole like foot on the knee thing with the bird, I was like, that's a little much. Like,
It is.
Yeah, they're on all of them.
I feel they would be the little trees would be good source for just other stuff and the wheat.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the Slanesh models are much more interesting.
Oh shit! I didn't realize there is the wheat. The wheat is great. That's my favorite part of the models.
I think it might be the best part.
The dark ones with all the scars and shit on them, though, man, that shit is rad. Like,
well, like yeah, the one with the spear and the shield. Like, look at all those like scarring.
Yeah,
like that's cool.
Yeah, that's
when it's neat that he or she or it or whatever has like kind of like almost like the Escher looking legs, which admittedly I feel in the Inq28 and Age of Sigmar 28 community, I feel more and more people are starting to use the Escher legs and incorporate it on more traditional male bodies and stuff, and I think that's great. Like
so those weird Blanche type things where it's like the chick body with the old friggin' flatulent faces and stuff, man. Oh god, it sounds so gross.
Yeah, but I think it's just a fun way to mess around with body types and such.
Yeah,
and in some sense, it results in, since they're slightly more feminine looking, at least in terms of GW's models, you can get it such that their feet aren't so gigantic.
I love
but
that.
I think in general, I really like that the character model there, just because it really reminds me of like a mid 80s like Jess Goodwin sculpt, but just like proportioned a little bit better, but very Realm of Chaos and that sort of stuff.
Like I want to see some Marines like that. Like it's like Emperor's Children Marines. I hope they're like just sexy as hell and disgusting. Like just like make people uncomfortable. Like oh god, I love it. I love it. Like that other one, like it's like it was the one with the scars on the leg. You could snip off one piece of the whole thing, and it would be a totally different model, but still awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's pretty cool. Like, I like all of these.
The Beastman thing looks very much like one of the old Keeper Secrets, which I think is cool.
Sexy Beastman.
Oh yeah.
The other two aren't quite as neat, but I'm struck by their faces. Like when I first saw them at a distance, I thought it looked like it had one of those character drawn overlords, like the dwarf heads. It's like
It's like evil Princess Jasmine from Aladdin.
Yeah.
it does look like that.
What also kind of reminds me of Diablo 2, the second
Act.
In the
act.
desert.
Yeah, in the desert sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that it's a slight different look, and it's looking at Slanesh in a slightly different way that isn't like stupidly sexualized or something. But I don't know. It's just nice to see something both a little different, but then familiar with like the champion and even the like keeper of secrets ish beastman.
Well, yeah,
I like those
the
elements.
chaos.
I like to think that the bowsman and the girl with the big spear are probably just hanging out with their weird sexual beast man buddy, just hanging out next, just like when they're not fighting, like it's like so much story here. Like, well, one day we'll have a goat head and hooves.
Yeah. Until then.
Yeah.
The chaos
friend-
path is much nicer.
So,
Mhm.
friends, I think I want to go to bed. Like, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
tired. I'm tired. You all can keep talking. It was a pleasure, Johnny.
My pleasure.
A
For
pleasure.
sure. Every time, always.
So I'm rocking out of here. Keep on rocking in the free world.
Have a good night,
Thanks.
man.
Thanks everybody for
It's me,
tuning in.
Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those rings look. I would break those immediately.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I mean, they'd probably be bent and malformed in the box.
And they
For
would
the most-
all have mold lines around all of them, so you have to like scrape them down, and that just increases the probability that you ruin them.
They're really cool, though. I'm sure they.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. They announced there's like a new Kill Team thing coming out too, so Kill Team isn't dead.
I was
Everybody.
wondering how that goes, man. That's a good excuse not to have to paint a bunch of models. That game is great. That's actually
It's
a game
true.
I've gotten to play. You know,
Yeah, I played a bunch of games of it actually.
I liked it.
I like
like
it
it.
too.
And it's like God, I want to say Rob was saying some stuff about people putting like more Inquisitor type rules in with that system.
Mhm.
It seems like it's pretty easy to mess with. I know White Dwarf did the thing that was like Inquisition rules and stuff that they put up.
Yeah, like I think you could very easily incorporate it into like an Inq28 thing, like because it honestly you could probably use a lot of Necromunda stat lines, but just put in the Kill Team rules to sort of speed up that all the movement happens sort of turn based to speed up that aspect, but then the shooting goes back and forth. Like I think some of that could be potentially useful if trying to create rules for like an event or something like at Adepticon that might speed up larger scale events such that okay, everyone's moving now, but then you can kind of go back and forth shooting to like, because I know for some of the stuff, the events and stuff we had done, like the Pilgrim thing, for example, there were so many people that just the straight turn-based stuff, it could be like a long time until you got back to your like 8 models to do anything.
I mean, every time we've done something, it was that was the one thing. It took all day.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was awesome because we were all like, "Oh, awesome!" But like you could tell by the end, it was like,
Yeah.
"What happened? What just happened?" Like,
So yeah, I
you know?
think that there is certainly opportunity to look at some of the GW's other rule sets, Kill Team, even Warcry and stuff, and think about could some of those be incorporated or elements of those be incorporated to speed things up a little? Because in a lot of cases, I think for events like this, it's not like your regular gaming group or something. It's like you only see these people once a year or maybe not even that frequently. And like you're there to just have fun with friends and such and enjoy the models you spent all this passion and time creating. Like, it's not that, oh, you need to like build the most competitive list and like dominate this or that. Like, that's so little to do with it that I don't think super detailed rules matter that much.
Those was that an Empire Blood Bowl team?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not see those. Those look awesome. Like the heads and stuff on there are like crazy looking, man.
Yeah, so I think they're
over the top.
A new edition of Blood Bowl is being released, and
they're only gonna be in that box, I bet. That's gonna be gonna be a.
I'm sure that like with the other Blood Bowl stuff, it maybe took a couple months, but eventually then they just released all of them separately. So I'm sure they will. It might just take a little bit. Because in the same sense, a lot of the Blood Bowl models from the other teams are good for conversion stuff. So I'm sure these newer things will be similar.
See, that guy's got tufts on the pitch there, or whatever what the board's called.
They do.
They painted it with like their textured paint, the crackly stuff, and then I feel to me it looks a little too.
Yeah, I'm just like, you play a game on grass that long? I guess it is fantasy, so.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like this seems like maybe a little lazier than they would have need. Like the tufts, I feel are too large.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, it doesn't look terrible or anything, but I feel they seem a little out of scale for something that's supposed to be a semi-cultivated pitch. But whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting.
In some sense, it's almost like, this is easy, you could do it, everybody. But the rest of the models are painted to a higher standard than like base coat, shade, high, you know what I mean? So it's maybe sort of weird that the bases,
the referee models are like beautifully painted, like my lord.
That little Gretchen guy, that's like kind of jumping that way, the one on the top there, above the referees or whatever. Cool. That little Gretchen body is fucking cool, man.
His helmet's cool too. The hands are good.
Yeah, it's like that body though. You could take the head off of it and put like a human head on it and have like a weird kind of mutant type thing going on there. It's got like a lot of character, kind of like those, like just like all the Hobbit ones too, or the
yeah, they were great.
So much movement there. That's fucking rad. Is that his hand? Okay, he's like got a hand planted on the ground.
He does.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. And the dwarf referee, look at the size of that fucking book on his back. Like, what the fuck even is that?
The rules, man.
They're the rules, Adam. That's all the rules. Praise Nuffle. That's there they are. So
yeah.
I mean, it's nice that they give you some referee models. They're certainly better than some of the Forge World stuff.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see that they're continuing to support it.
I agree.
Maybe it'll be streamlined slightly such that the games don't take quite as long. That would be nice.
That would be nice.
But well. We'll see. We'll see. Have you ever played Blood Bowl, Johnny?
No, never. Never played it. Just give them all my money. Take the plastic.
I mean, yeah, the models.
I think there's some people that play at the local store here, but I don't know anything about winning. All that stuff. That's just another set to paint and have them fit rules. I don't know. Whenever I have to sit down, like when we were talking about the rule stuff and like how to load out your gang and stuff, that takes me forever to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not natural for me. But like I feel like I have to do it. It's like I've definitely like, well, why'd you got a laser gun on that guy? I'm like, oh god, it's just like I just clam up. I mean, usually my nerd masculinity is cut down. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just another game to learn. I'm like, I don't know. I'll use the model.
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't know, man. I might have to find some kid that plays it though to get some of those out of that box set. I definitely do that all the time. I'm just like, anybody wanting to buy this or split it? Because like, I'll buy all that half and you can get a cheaper box. Like, I do that too much.
Yeah, that's a good way to do that if you can actually find people who want the stuff.
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace is really good for that too. Facebook Marketplace is a gold mine if you know where to look.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually.
You can find bits or just like load offs of old collections, all that stuff, and people half the time people don't know what they have, or they're just like emerging, getting rid of stuff. It's like the new eBay.
Well, so I guess maybe we can call the stream to an end soon. Like, I have to get up pretty early tomorrow as well. And I guess I was up at like 5 this morning too, so
yeah, that's early.
Car troubles, always something.
Yeah, man. Well, good thing you didn't have to get a new battery. That's cool. It's like $100 you save, right?
Yeah. Can't complain.
Other than that early wake up call.
Well, yeah, I guess thanks everybody for joining us tonight with your like questions and stuff. Thank you, Johnny, for being here with us. It's been fun.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody else on the streams too.
Yeah. So keep on enjoying the hobby, everyone. Get out there, paint, draw, whatever, convert a model, play a game, read a comic, watch a movie, whatever. Just enjoy stuff. Take inspiration from everywhere. But yeah, until next time, everyone, stay safe.
Yeah, see you, everybody.